Welcome to Forbes Newsroom. Joining me now is Zack Friedman, the founder and CEO of Mentor and a Forbes senior contributor. Zack, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be with you, Brittany.
On August 31st, the student loan payment pause will end. So can you first tell us why there was a payment pause to begin with?
Sure. So in March 2020, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Congress passed the CARES Act, which was a $2 trillion stimulus package. And within that package was historic student loan relief. So that included really much three things, pretty much. So first was a halt on mandatory federal student loan payments. Second was setting federal loan interest rates to 0% temporarily. And then third was a halt of any collection of student loans in default. And so the reason that was passed by Congress, and it was on a bipartisan basis, was to help student loan borrowers who were facing a historic pandemic from COVID-19. And so that started in March 2020. And through a series of not only the congressional action, but several extensions, both from President Donald Trump and from President Joe Biden, have been extended all the way since March 2020 until today.
Have those extensions been relatively the same amount of time, or have they differed in length?
They've differed in length. So the original CARES Act was for 6 months. So it continued through September 30th, 2020. And then President Trump had extended it to December 31st, and then actually January 31st. Then President Biden came in on January 20th of 2021, extended through August. So there's been varying lengths throughout. And this latest one, as you mentioned, will go through August 31st.
Have the interest rates also remained at 0% throughout these extensions?
For federal student loan rates, yes, they've been at 0% temporarily. So basically, there hasn't been interest payments that have been mandatory for any student loan borrowers to make. And so effectively, if a student loan borrower wanted to pay their student loans, their federal student loans, of course, this does not apply to private student loans during the course of the moratorium, they certainly could. And that would actually benefit them because they could reduce their principal balance. So that's been one of the advantages of folks who decide they want to pay voluntarily during this time.
President Biden and the White House both confirmed that the president will make some sort of announcement on student loan forgiveness before this August 31st deadline. But we're really coming down to the wire here. We're 2 weeks out from that deadline. He's remained silent as of now. So are there any indicators that he could extend the pause?
So there are really two major decisions that are coming up, exactly as you said, Brittany, in the next 2 weeks or less. First is the student loan payment pause. It does expire on August 31st. If that happens, September 1st, the next day, is when federal student loan payments would restart for over 40 million student loan borrowers. And then the second decision is this notion of wide-scale student loan forgiveness. So it's the prospect of President Biden forgiving student loans for all federal student loan borrowers potentially. The $10,000 amount has been floated around. It's something that the president had talked about on the campaign trail back in 2020, continues until today. There are some indications that he could certainly extend the student loan payment pause. He's had a lot of pressure from congressional Democrats, members of his own party, particularly the progressive group of members in Congress, folks like Elizabeth Warren, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and others. A couple of things that I mentioned: the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, has referenced the possibility of extending student loan relief. And then also the Education Department had informed student loan servicers. These are the companies that effectively manage student loan payments and act as the customer service apparatus for the Education Department. They were instructed by the Education Department not to send student loan bills to student loan borrowers. So there's been some speculation if student loan borrowers don't have student loan bills, how can they start repaying on September 1st? So that's been one hint. On the student loan forgiveness front, again, there's been also a lot of pressure from progressive Democrats, other social and civic organizations for the president to forgive student loans, also pressure from voters potentially as we have the midterm elections coming up on November 8th. And then there's been, the continuation of the COVID-19 pandemic. Those are all kind of factors that could weigh into the president's decision. There's no guarantee that the president will extend student loan relief or even cancel on a wide-scale basis student loans for borrowers, but it is something that could happen. The president, I should note, has canceled about $32 billion of student loans since becoming president. That's been a targeted basis for select groups of borrowers, but there is this ongoing prospect of him canceling potentially more student loan debt, potentially $10,000 or higher for all federal student loan borrowers.